Let me ask you a question. Do you trust recruiters? I've been a recruiter for 15 years, and I can tell you that you probably don't want to trust all recruiters all the time. In fact, in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 things that your recruiter is probably keeping from you. And if you want to find out what they are, well, you're going to have to watch this video. Let's go. Now, the number one thing that a recruiter might be keeping from you is feedback from a hiring manager. So often you'll interview with a hiring manager, or they'll submit your resume to the hiring manager, and you'll ask your recruiter, what do you think? And sometimes your recruiter will say to you, I haven't gotten feedback yet. The reality is sometimes they have gotten feedback. They have feedback from the hiring manager, but they're not going to share it. They're not going to tell you exactly why. And the reason is most of the time, it doesn't help the hiring manager and it doesn't help the recruiter. Providing you with that feedback can actually open them up to risk, because the hiring manager might say something they're not supposed to say, right? And that could be a compliance concern. So because of that reason, recruiters sometimes are hesitant to give you the direct feedback. It's frustrating because that feedback would probably help you, but they're not going to do it because truly there is no benefit to the hiring manager, there's no benefit to them. So because of that, they simply avoid doing that. It also can be hard to give that feedback. If there is something the hiring manager did not like about you and thought you were bad at answering a certain question, the recruiter might go, I don't think they're going to like getting this feedback, so I'm not going to give it. And if you think that one is shocking, then you need to stick around to the end, because the last one is going to shock you. The next thing that the recruiter probably is not going to share with you is that you can get more money than you were asking for. So oftentimes when you're talking with a recruiter early on in the process, they're going to ask you, what are you looking for salary-wise in order to make a move? And there might be a bit of, jostling that goes on, but at the end of the day, there's going to be some numbers thrown around. And you might say, look, I'm willing to make a move for 70K. And a lot of times they'll say, okay, yeah, I think they're going to be able to do that. The reality is the range might be like 65 to 95K, but they're not going to tell you you could make more, because that is going to hurt them and it's going to hurt the hiring manager from a negotiation perspective. So you might be really honest. You might be worth more money. You might be able to get more money, but the recruiter is never going to tell you you can make a lot more than that. That is just not something recruiters are going to share. It's one of the reasons why it's so incredibly important to do your research and go into an opportunity fully informed about what you might be able to make from a compensation perspective. I've also made a lot of videos on what you need to do to get the best offer when it comes to salary negotiation, research, and preparation. It's just something I highly recommend doing. I also highly recommend liking this video. If you've enjoyed it, if you find value in it, hit that like button. It's free. It tells YouTube I don't suck, and it motivates me to make more videos like this. It really helps the channel. And if you're willing to do that, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you never miss one of my 3 free weekly videos, all designed to help you nail your next interview and maximize your career. Another super unfortunate thing they're not going to tell you, but it's a reality a lot, is you are the safety candidate. What does that mean? It means you're the type of candidate who's worth moving forward in the process, but ultimately, they don't think you're going to get the job because they have another candidate identified as a superior candidate. Better fit, more cost effective, better industry alignment, whatever it is. The reality is every recruiter wants to put 3 candidates in front of their hiring manager. Because hiring managers, if they only get 1 candidate and that's a great candidate, here's what they're going to say. I really like this candidate, but I'd like to see more options. So recruiters are all trained and all by nature determined to go out there and get 3 to 4 candidates that are hireable. The reality is that 3rd candidate, that 4th candidate, a lot of recruiters know they're probably not going to get the job. But I need more candidates to form a candidate slate so my hiring manager will actually make a decision. So sometimes you're being moved forward, but you are actually the safety candidate. Now that seems unfortunate, but the reality is there is still an opportunity. Because even though a recruiter thinks you're a safety candidate, it doesn't mean you can't go into that interview and absolutely crush it. And if you want that to be you, and you want to go into your interview and absolutely crush it, I want you to click on the link below in the description box. That is my full interview prep guide. And that guide will position you to be the best candidate possible and help you land the job you are interviewing for. It has 25 instructional videos designed to help you be the best interview possible. It helps you prepare answers and stories, and it has several exercises that I've personally crafted to make you a master candidate. Another thing that a recruiter is not going to tell you is that your references were not good. You'd be surprised, because I've been in recruitment for 15 years, and sometimes people will give me like 3 people, and they're like, yeah, call these 3 people, these are my references. Sometimes you call them and they are not good. And I gotta tell you, as a recruiter, you think, could you not find 3 people who would say nice things about you? But recruiters aren't always going to tell you that. They're not going to say, hey, 2 of your candidates said you were, or 2 of your references said you were great. 1 said you were terrible. They're not going to share that information with you. They're going to share it with the hiring manager. They're not going to go back and tell you that that's the case. That might be frustrating, but they're just not going to do it. The next things recruiters are not going to tell you is they won't tell you that it was your social media that was the deal breaker. Believe it or not, tons of hiring managers will look you up on Facebook. They will look you up on Twitter. They will look you up on Instagram, right? And they want to do this research to be like, what kind of person are we hiring? Because the reality is when you go in an interview, that is your best self. That is your most employable self. You're doing everything you can to position yourself as a great candidate. But if you're on Facebook, you might say some super unhinged stuff. They want to look that up. So I can tell you, as someone who's been in recruitment for 15 years, it has happened probably hundreds of times where a hiring manager said, look, we like this candidate, but we went and we found them on Facebook and we've determined they're not going to be a good fit for us. That happens a lot. No one is going to tell you that's the reason why, though. The hiring manager isn't going to tell you that. They're going to have to tell you, hey, I was creeping on you and I found you to be pretty scary as a human being. They're not going to say that. The recruiter isn't going to say that either. So sometimes that happens, but you will never know. Now, this thing that I'm going to tell you is going to be upsetting. So if you're not sitting down, why have you been standing watching my video? But also sit down. The next thing that recruiters will not tell you is they will not tell you when the process is dragging on because they are waiting on another candidate. You've interviewed with them. You've interviewed multiple times. They're telling you, hey, they're still very interested in you. And it's dragging on, and you're wondering why. Often is because they're waiting for what they would consider to be their first place candidate to make a decision. And they don't want to lose you because they haven't made a hire yet. But they also don't want to move forward with you because they consider another candidate to be a better option. That is a thing a recruiter will not tell you, a hiring manager will not tell you, but it absolutely happens. Now, if you don't want to be that backup candidate, if you want to be like the best candidate possible, and you want to be that person who comes in first place, I made this video here, and it's interview secrets that the masters know. People who are great interviewers, the best interviewers, they know these secrets. So if you want to know those secrets and you want to be the best candidate, go watch that video. I'll see you over there.